Welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network. Presented by Patriot Patch Company and Camerado. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Doing good.
What's new and exciting? Anything?
I just ordered 4,115 grain berries bullets.
Nice. Very nice. How about you, Nick?
I got 2 new pistols. I would love to show them off, but I don't want to get us kicked.
I don't give a shit.
You don't care? Okay.
No. Fuck YouTube.
All right. So last Wednesday, kind of give a little bit of backstory. Last Wednesday, I had a cigar night at one of my local gun shops I go to that they do every month during the spring, summer, and fall. And they had gotten a collection of Japanese pistols in. Of course, they decided not to tell me when they came in, so they all sold. End up working out a deal with one of the guys to trade a couple things straight up for it. I think I got the better end of the deal, but hey, he liked what he got. I enjoyed what I got, so that's the best thing about him. The deals like that. First one I got was a Japanese Type 94, also known as the suicide pistol, because the sear is exposed on the side of the gun. So whenever the gun's cocked, you can push on the side of the sear, and it will fire the pistol. And so, which pretty. There's cool, interesting videos out there of people testing on YouTube.
So that's the original SIG P320.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, actually, of course, I don't have ammo for it, but we'll do. So it's cocked. You just push right here. Let's see if I can get my finger right there. Come on, why aren't you working? Gun just went off.
Oops. So
pretty interesting. And then the second one, which is an earlier one, is a Japanese Type 26 revolver, which is pretty cool. Similar to a Webley. And it's, their version, like a Webley and a Smith & Wesson Schofield. But super cool, double action only. But other than that, I was pretty happy with the transaction. I got 2 more on layaway at the shops, and so it has been a pistol year for me. I had a few rifles, but getting more sidearms this year, which is a good thing. And I needed to work on that, so that's always a good sign. But other than that, these I don't have ammo for. So yay, more calibers I got to start loading. The revolver,
it's terrible.
I have to either buy the brass, which is about $1.75 a piece of brass, or I can take 38 Smith & Wesson brass and turn the rim thickness thinner by about 1/10 to get down to that. Nambu I can make out of common stuff, but I might just buy ammo for that. I'm not going to shoot that one a lot. But other than that, I got a Star. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I got a Star Super Modelo, a 9 Largo at the shop, and a French Mac 1950 at the shop as well. That's a 9mm Luger, so that'll be easy, cheap to shoot.
Nice.
So other than that, that's really about it. Been working on some other reloading stuff. Reese sent me some ammo, some GRA ammo to try in my GRA, but my GRA probably was never really fired. And I was going to take it out to the range over the weekend, and I got a chamber around. It doesn't want to fit in the chamber at all. Ooh. I'll throw it in our Facebook group chat so you two can see it. It is pretty bad. I'll throw it in there now so you guys can. It will not chamber at all. So I'm sending the rifle over to Reese. He's gonna take a look, see what's going on. I don't think it's nothing with the gun. I just think the barrel dated is 1889. So I think what had happened is gun was in service. It was a Model 74 GRA, so it went through its service. It was updated to the M80, and it went through a re-arsenal phase in the late 1880s. So I guarantee the barrel got put on 1889 and just really never saw action again. So it's a basically brand new barrel.
Uh-huh.
So I even tried to put some in and try to cam it over. I got one that was close to camming over where I'd have to really bang on it, but with a black powder cartridge, I wasn't going to push it.
No, that's not a good idea.
But that's been really about it on my end.
Hey, Alaska Russ, what ended up solving your problem?
It was Doity.
Probably it was.
So he had a problem with his IntelliDropper where it was drifting bad. Nick. So
I've had that before on mine. So I'm kind of glad I got the RCBS. Dad's going to get the IntelliDropper, so he can have fun with that.
yeah.
Even though we don't push our loads.
Oh, get rid of those. I got to take them off every time because 2 reasons. 1, they reflect all everything on the screen, but 2, it reflects the whatever sensor my camera uses for autofocus, so you can always see the flashing dot in my lens. So, I wasn't where I really wanted to be over the weekend. I wanted to be in Niles, Ohio, but that wasn't an option, so lack of funds prohibited that trip. But from everything I've seen, GunCon was a great success again. So right now I'm working towards being in Des Moines on July 30th. Yes, Nick, that's right. The 30th, because that's range day.
Mm-hmm.
So that is for goals. So
I got an unexpected trip coming up.
where are you going?
Nebraska.
Why?
Speed shooting?
Nope. I'll be there 8 days to training with Bob Marvel and building 1911 with him in his class. So
Oh, cool.
I got on the wait list, and they said, well, 2027 will be the earliest we have slots unless we have somebody drop out, and it might be
Somebody
last
dropped
minute.
out?
So,
Well, congratulations.
yep.
Anything you need to bring, or do they have everything there and then you just show up?
Yeah, not much. There were a couple things they suggested, pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
50 rounds of test ammo, but you can always buy it there locally too. And
Yeah. Makes sense. It's a good some regular 230 ball.
why do I need corn on the cob?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm a Nebraska fan. We're the Cornhuskers.
Oh.
So
Yeah, so we have a corn fest here. Like, they have corn on the cob there. Why do I have to go to Nebraska for that bullshit?
we're at Nebraska. Because I've been everywhere from like half the state east. Because my mom's from there, and my grandparents lived there, so I've been pretty much anywhere: Omaha, Lincoln, Grand Island, all the way up to the northeast corner.
Let's see here. Let me find the email with the address, and I'll tell you. Crete, Nebraska.
Crete?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, home of Crete Carriers. There you go.
Let's see where we at.
Who's Crete Carriers? I've never heard of them.
They are a big trucking outfit. You got it's usually a red and white logo with 3 C's. So
it's just south of Lincoln, so really you're only like 3.5 hours from me. But you're gonna go through Omaha and Lincoln. You gotta stop and have a runza. If you've never had one.
Have a what?
It's called a runza.
Okay. Sounds like Taco Bell.
It is, but it's Czech food. So basically, think of a meat pocket or like a
Tasty.
like a hoagie bun, but filled with ground beef, cabbage, but light on the cabbage. Then they have that's your original runza, but they also have a cheese runza, which has cheese on the inside.
Sounds like a pasty.
It is so good. Like
Pasty.
pasty, yeah, pasty. I'm like I said, I'm a quarter Czech, so I grew up having
Well,
that.
I mean, the runs is fine, but Mike's, listen, I lived in the UP too long to listen to him butcher the simplest freaking word in the UP language.
I don't know. I spent a lot of time at Teddy Wedgers, and they never corrected me, so that's my fault. I apologize. It's good at raining now.
No, you'll enjoy that. Southeast corner of the state's really not beautiful. There's a lot to do down there.
The last time I went through Nebraska, I think I was I don't remember what interstate it was. Probably 80.
It's got to
Yeah,
be
it was
80.
on 80 all the way across. And the only thing I remember was, holy shit, they need some shrubs so it breaks up the landscape.
You get west of Grand Island, there's nothing. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's like I-7. It's like I-70 going through Kansas. You get past.
So I was going to Grand Junction, Colorado, and I'm like, okay, we're in Nebraska. All right, well, hopefully Colorado will be better. No, it's like, and the thing is, like, at some point I'm going to start seeing mountains, right? No, did you drive? It's flat. Holy shit, you're in the mountains. Like, you don't see them off in the distance. Yeah, you always expect to see them way off in the distance, right? No, you're driving along. It's flat. It's boring. There's nothing. It's all one freaking color of brown, or two colors of brown if you're lucky. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, I'm in the mountain pass. Holy shit, I'm on the other side of the mountain pass.
Yeah, the elevation change across the state's insane because it's flat. Well, it's crazy. Even on the east side of the state, you're flat down by Omaha and Lincoln, but you go up in the northeast corner of the state, up by like Sioux City, Iowa, you get into some super big rolling hills from the glacier runoff, which is where my family's from. It's like you'll go in like 75 to 100 feet of elevation change in a mile. It's insane.
Well, I mean, the thing is the whole time I'm going west, I'm actually going up in elevation. You just don't see it.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah, you're going. I think you go from east to west side of the state. You're going up like 1,800 plus feet of elevation minimum. I think.
Oh yeah, and then as you're going through Colorado, you're climbing even faster.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't see it, and you're like, "Oh, there's going to be mountains in the distance. There's going to be mountains in the distance."
No,
I'm like, I'm only 100 miles away from Denver at this point. Where the hell are the mountains?
No,
you'd see them the last 20 miles if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was kind of like, holy shit, I'm in a pass. Yeah. Like, this is the mountain pass. Like, I'm at the top of the mountain already, right? Like, where the hell was the base of the mountain? Now, granted, as you're on the west side of the mountain range, you can see them. But on the east side, you don't see them at all.
Yeah. I just remember when we went out to Vail for back in summer and winter of '92, driving along and it's flat, and then all of a sudden they just were there, like shortly into it.
Well, and that's the thing is like, so I get to the other side of the mountain pass, and I'm going, oh man, this is gorgeous. But you're doing 70 miles an hour on an interstate, and I'm driving, and you're doing these switchbacks. And of course, like, so I come into the mountain pass, like, oh, I'm in the mountains. And I get through this tunnel, and the first thing I see is I come out the other side is there's a car with 30-foot flames ripping out of it as I come out in the far lane, you know. Like, oh shit! And of course, I'm driving along trying to pay attention to the road plus traffic, and you're kind of like, I'd like to see the scenery, but you can't really. And then, of course, like alongside of the road, there's a gas station, right? There's the exit. There's the green for the exit between where the road exits, and then the gas station. And I'm like, holy shit, that was mountain sheep. But you don't have time to look because everything it's so tight in there that you just it's It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
at least got to enjoy it a bit once I got to near Grand Junction when I was driving back into go to Cameo to shoot. But I want to go to Cameo at some point and do their mile shoot.
That sounds like fun.
Yep.
So,
I think you can get up to 2 miles out there at that range.
oh, fun. Well, when you
But
got
you're literally shooting between mountains.
right, when you got mountains as the backstop, makes it a little easier. So, but yeah, Nebraska, I-80 through Nebraska is just like,
You better have some good podcasts. Is all I gotta say for I-80.
Audiobooks.
Or that too. Yeah.
yeah,
Audiobooks, because with podcasts, I tend to like if they get off and I'm just not interested in what they're talking about. It's you got to change and
Next time my dad's on, you'll have to ask him about his almost scary experience with listening to a podcast while on a road trip. He came within 3 miles of running out of gas.
oh, he got sucked in.
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's how him and I are when we listen to podcasts. Like it keeps our mind going and start thinking about things. And so you don't even pay attention, you just go.
So I was driving from the Upper Peninsula to Evansville, Indiana, like 26, 27 years ago, and I had
across
an
the
audiobook,
bridge.
like audiobook as in like it was on cassette, and I had to
Right.
swap the cassettes.
Now, did you go across the bridge?
Why would I go across the bridge when I'm coming from Escanaba? I wouldn't even go to. Why would I add 8 hours to my trip?
I didn't know if it'd be any quicker going
No,
down through Michigan
no,
or coming all the way down through Wisconsin.
no. He goes down through Wisconsin, and straight down through Illinois. So you actually come over to cut over to Madison, and go south from there.
Yeah. No, I didn't
Now,
know which.
technically, it's faster to go through Chicago, but Chicago adds 2 hours above and beyond the time it's recommended,
Right.
so it's not faster, right?
No, I didn't
So,
know. I didn't know which way would be quicker. I've actually never gone across the bridge.
but I was driving along, and I think I had an eighth of a tank before because I got so involved in the audiobook. I didn't stop, didn't go to the bathroom. I think I stopped once in Wisconsin, right? So Escanaba to Madison's 4 hours. I may have stopped once, right? And just kept driving, kept driving, kept driving. I was on fumes and like just completely so engrossed. Like I don't remember driving to the point where I had driven. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was on course, and I don't think I ever fell asleep, but I don't remember any of the trip. I was so engrossed in the book.
I could definitely see that. So, oh, yeah, that happens a lot. You start driving and so anyway, yeah, goals in Des Moines. August 1st and 2nd. If you're a GOA member, you get in for free. Just so, it's third year, I think.
I think it is third.
So, I got all sorts of stuff going on. Let me see here. I don't need that. I don't need that. I need that.
You said that was the 30th?
Well, range day is the 30th.
Oh, okay.
So.
I got to confirm with Dad, see if he's wanting to go.
What the hell?
Yeah, I won't have enough. I won't have enough vacation time left over from work to go. So I'm not with using up 8 days of 9 days because I have to take the third off. So.
Yep. So in other news, Did everybody hear about the Supreme Court decision?
The one about marijuana?
Yep.
Nope, didn't hear a thing.
Okay.
I read about it though.
And what did you read about it?
Apparently, you can get stoned and still own a gun.
Correct.
No, you can't get stoned and use a gun.
Correct. Just like you shouldn't get stoned and or you shouldn't get drunk and use a gun. It's a huge actual decision that is far-reaching beyond just the marijuana aspect of it. So definitely will lead into definitely can be used for other the precedent set can be used for other parts of knocking down gun bans and et cetera, et cetera. So is kind of what the gist of it. What's the guy? For something diner, big YouTuber.
Well, I think the benefit is it shows it helps set the boundary of kind of what where restrictions can be. It sets a boundary for what restrictions might be in place. Because basically they were trying to define as marijuana, like essentially the way that the argument that the government put up was, if you ever smoked marijuana, you can no longer
Right.
use a firearm. Like Bill Clinton didn't inhale, so he can't have a firearm now.
Right.
Kind of.
So there is a lot of vendors that are in companies that are going to be at goals. It's going to rival NRA annual meetings as far as turnout. So, plus the Gundies are going to hold a thing on Saturday night if you're into the Gundies. So, but yeah, a lot of Redding's going to be there. So that's cool.
Who?
Redding, Reloading.
Oh, Redding. Okay.
So I'm looking at kind of different. Now that's something you don't see every day. USDCA is going to be there. So
that doesn't surprise me.
That's something that doesn't happen for NRA, because they don't let anybody else in. So, Nick, you're muted. Who's the YouTuber for something diner?
I'm looking up right now. I just butchered the spelling.
Or Box's Diner, maybe? Yeah.
That might be it.
Well, on the marijuana issue, we have a mutual friend. I won't call him out on the stream, but you two know him. And I was talking with him about it, and he was talking about the restriction of specifically the way the ATF form was filled out, and the way it reads exactly the same way on my DFFL application I just submitted. But it basically, it's are you under the influence? And basically, what it's saying is, under the old ruling, the way it was set up is, if you were in a state where marijuana was legal, especially for medical use, it automatically, if you had a medical card,
Yeah,
right?
it
It
automatically disqualifies you.
automatically disallowed you from, according to what the way they were interpreting it.
What's how it was when I lived in Illinois. When I lived in Illinois and I sold guns, I could usually tell the person smoked marijuana. Not all the time, but there was those certain situations you could. But
The
there's
aroma?
yeah, that's the biggest thing. But then you'll laugh. It's like they'll come back the next day or day and a half later. Say, well, yeah, I can't have the gun. I received a phone call saying I couldn't purchase this, so we give them the refund. And so yeah, it's like we knew it. I kind of called it. Technically, you lied on a federal form, so technically you should be going to prison. But
Right.
eh,
But that doesn't matter to the federal government. They don't care if anybody lies on the form, even though that's they could be using that to lock up lots of people
yeah,
that shouldn't have. But whatever. Yeah, Four Boxes Diner, as Paul said. I think Paul typed that in right before I found it. So, but yeah, he kind of breaks it down and kind of covers how big it actually is versus you just look at it on you look at it at the base and you're like, oh, okay, so a guy that had marijuana went and fought it for his right to be able to own firearms and won, which the federal government needs to remove marijuana from the Schedule 1, in my personal opinion.
If it hasn't been, I believe it already has, but I think it's scheduled for you.
So yeah, I mean, it needs to be removed from that because, frankly, in my personal opinion, there really isn't any difference between alcohol and marijuana. I've never seen a stoner that goes into a rage, actually. So even if somebody steals their Doritos, but um, but that's not for us to debate. That's whatever. But um, I personally am for removing restrictions. Frankly, if you don't own a firearm, or if you aren't allowed to have a firearm, you shouldn't be walking around on the streets. That's my opinion. So, anyway, but so that was a big case. They're now kind of waiting to see what happens. The pundits are pretty confident that this fall they're going to finally take up a hardware case with assault weapon. So the other one that I'm waiting to hear is the Hawaii sensitive places. I don't know if that ruling's come out yet. It hadn't as of Monday. Basically, what Hawaii said is, oh, well, we're going to make everything sensitive places. Some people are calling it the vampire rule. The lore of vampires can't come in if you don't invite them in. So that's basically what they were saying is Hawaii is saying on private property, unless you get prior permission from the landowner to come onto their property, you cannot bring a firearm on any sort of private or. So if you're shopping and you're concealed carrying, you can't go into that business unless you've gotten prior permission. Basically anywhere and everywhere is what they're saying. Restaurants, shopping, anywhere that's private property, so anything that's not publicly owned is what they're saying. So that was actually heard and everything, so we're just kind of waiting for the results on that. I'm pretty sure that's going to get beat down. At least it better. What is 922 G3? Is that the marijuana case? So.
yeah. Basically, it's a federal law that makes it felony for any person who is unlawfully used or addicted to controlled substance to ship, transport, possession, or receive a firearm or ammunition. Yeah.
So I will say that the marijuana Well, some people are touting it as being very wide reaching. They did intentionally, so the opinion does limit the scope of its use case. So I don't think it's going to be as impactful as some would hope. But they did in the opinion, the 9-0 opinion, which
Yeah,
is a big thing. They say this is not a wide range. They did limit the scope of the impact on this, but it definitely can be used as precedent in other areas, and additional. It can be expanded through additional rulings, but it's not being one of those things where um, it's going to just completely open the floodgates on it. So it really is just limiting to essentially marijuana
yeah. I mean,
in and of its.
that's the gist of it. Is it's marijuana and specifically marijuana. It doesn't not any others. And frankly, you know, so
Well, I mean, it's kind of the way the interpretation was is, oh, hey, I had surgery. I had, oxycodone for 3 days after surgery to knock down pain. I can no longer, essentially would be the same argument is like, I'm no longer allowed to legally own a gun because I was technically, on a controlled substance.
yeah. Um,
Although oxycodone, I think, is actually Schedule 3 or Schedule 2.
sorry, I was scrolling through. And there was a on page 11 of the opinion of the court. Says nor does government's theory stop at Mr. Hamani. It extends equally to a husband who regularly takes his wife's prescription Ambien to sleep, and a college student who routinely uses his friend's Adderall to cram for exams. ID at 5658. The drug involved makes no difference, nor again does it matter how much an individual uses or the effects it has on him. But someone regularly uses any substance found on any of the CSA's 5 schedules for anything other than its prescribed purpose is enough. Without more, the government asks us to analogize all such persons to habitual drunkards. To state the analogy is to expose its deficiency. And then it goes on from there. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but
Well, that was the big one. Was the habitual drunkards is where they were trying to make it. But listen, when they're talking about when those habitual drunkard laws and things came into play, it was to the point where you were so drunk that all the drunks couldn't stand to be around you anymore, right?
right.
You know, your habitual drunkards are the guys that are out destroying their town after their Super Bowl win, but not just that night. It's night after night after night,
Yeah.
right? It's not just a one-time instance. It's not even a couple-time instance. It's a essentially a raging, a non-functioning alcoholic, right? Is what we're talking about in this instance.
Right. But like they do with everything, they used it above and beyond. So let's see here.
I think they did a good job of making it easy for the courts to strike it down.
Yeah. Thomas's understanding of the Commerce Clause underlies a lonely crusade that he has been waging for decades, but the fact that Thomas does not muster much support for his position from colleagues does not mean he is not wrong. To the contrary, it is hard to deny that laws like Section 922G3, which applies to gun possession or affecting commerce, rely on a highly elastic interpretation of the Commerce Clause that converts it into a license for nearly anything Congress wants to do. So Thomas is using this also to say, hey, you can't just. Let's see here. Thomas's objective, Section 922 G3. This is important, so we're going to cover it quick. Also applies to other provisions of the same law that categorically prohibits gun possession by broad classes of Americans. Those provisions include Section 922 G1, which permanently disarms people who have been convicted of crimes punishable by more than 1 year of incarceration, and 922 G4, which covers people who have been subjected to involuntary psychiatric treatment. In fact, all of the categorical bans in Section 922G rely on the same dubious justification, purporting to establish congressional authority by criminalizing gun possession in or affecting commerce. In practice, that supposed qualification does not impose any limits at all. Thomas illustrates that point by noting what would have been required to convict the Texas cannabis consumer whose prosecution the Supreme Court barred in Hamani. In addition to establishing that Ali Hamani owned a pistol and used marijuana a few times a week, both of which he admitted, prosecutors would have had to prove that his gun had previously traveled in interstate commerce. Since Hamani owned a Glock 19 pistol manufactured in either Austria or Georgia, that requirement would have been easily met. Prosecutors alleged only that the firearm that he possessed had been shipped and transported in interstate and foreign commerce in the past, even though Hamani was indicted for possessing it in his home in Texas. Thomas notes in his concurring opinion the government did not have to allege, nor would have had to prove at trial, that Hamani bought the firearm from someone else in another state or even carried it across state lines himself at any point. Section 922G appears to exceed Congress's powers under the Commerce Clause, Thomas writes, as a matter of both original meaning and this court's precedents. Congress lacks the power to regulate the possessions of firearms solely on the grounds that they cross state lines at some point. That's a big part of GCA. As it was originally understood, Thomas says the Commerce Clause authorizes Congress only to regulate the buying and selling of goods trafficked across state lines. Here he is quoting his own dissent in the 2005 case Gonzalez versus Reich, which raised the question of whether the Commerce Clause authorized Congress to ban interstate possession of medical marijuana. The majority held that it did, much to Thomas's dismay. Diane Monson and Angel Reich use marijuana that has never been bought or sold, that never crossed state lines, and has no demonstrable effect on the national market for marijuana, Thomas wrote. If Congress can regulate this under the Commerce Clause, then it can regulate virtually anything, and the federal government is no longer one of limited and enumerated powers. Okay, so looks like this is getting to the end of it. As that case illustrates, Thomas's critique of federal gun laws also applies to federal drug laws to the extent that they criminalize interstate conduct. Both types of laws were originally framed as revenue measures, a pretext that would have been unnecessary if legislators thought they could rely on the Commerce Clause, but after Supreme Court stretched that grant of power to cover conduct that was neither commercial nor interstate, it became an all-purpose excuse for federal legislation. Even under this court's modern Commerce Clause doctrine, Thomas argues, Section 922G is hard to justify. That doctrine, he notes, recognizes three justifications for congressional action. It must either regulate the use of channels of interstate commerce, regulate and protect the instrumentalities of interstate commerce, or persons or things in interstate commerce, or regulate activities that substantially affect interstate commerce. And it's on its face, 922G does not regulate the use of channels of interstate commerce because it criminalizes possession of a firearm within a state long after use of any of those channels. Thomas writes, nor does it regulate and protect the instrumentalities of interstate commerce or persons or things in interstate commerce because it requires no showing that the possession in question poses any risk to interstate buying, selling, shipping, or transportation. So it goes on quite a bit further, but So, yeah, there's a bunch more in there. On that. But that's on reason.com. So, and reason.com seems to be kind of a middle of the road, not a left, not a right. So, but at any rate.
Well, I agree that the Commerce Clause has been overutilized. I don't know if I would go
Absolutely.
so as far as Thomas would.
Yep. So,
Because we don't need states imposing tariffs on other states.
no. No, we don't. That is the truth, Russ. A couple of the good comments. Clifford Zach said the government treats us like children. Look at all the things you cannot buy till you're 21 now. Yep. And then Clifford or Alaska Russ one said any restrictions take enough guns is a small step forward. That's true. So, I'm just looking to see if there is anything on Hawaii. I don't even know what it's called. Dang it. So, but yeah, I mean, there's YouTube took down another blah blah blah. Not ours. Gun and Gear Review. I'm looking to see if they have the case name. That's Wilford Lopez. Okay. Anyway. Looks like nothing's been released yet. So that answers that question. So, anyway.
I would just like to add one thing.
Yes.
The fact that we're spending way too much time worrying about a pool in algae and the fact that there was a shit job sealing it and both sides of the political aisle are all upset about it, and you know what? Who
Allegedly,
gives a shit?
I've heard a story, and I haven't been able to verify it, but allegedly, there was somebody that intentionally sabotaged it.
I don't buy.
I've heard the story,
I
but I
think
don't know.
it's been
Given the
a
fact that it was
problem for
Trump's buddies that
decades.
did it, I could definitely see it being screwed up. So,
It's been the pools had issues for a long time,
right.
and the guy that does the Mar-a-Lago pool coming in and doing the work probably isn't qualified to do it because
Nope.
it's not the same thing, right?
Nope. Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, the whole thing was stupid to begin with, and it's just getting dumber as the day goes by. And the fact
Yeah.
that
The
so
only
much
blessing is
attention,
taxpayer money didn't fund it. So
yeah,
whatever. Carry on.
we're spending so much time, so much time and energy as a country focused on it.
So the question you have to ask yourself, what are they hiding?
All kinds of things.
Anytime they focus on something menial and not important, it's because they're directing our attention away from something that we should be paying attention to.
Oh, Iran, the way our governments ran. I mean,
250,000 young women in England, you know,
yeah.
all sorts of different things. Anyway, hello everyone. We have people joining. So as Blue once said, we need to focus on the bare necessities. And if any wants to sue me for trademark, fuck them. So,
You didn't sing it long enough, so you're fine.
yeah, I know. So, the debate rages on about what's the minimum to reload. Okay, first off, we're going to explain the difference between reload and handload. Nick, what's the difference between reloading and handloading?
Reloading is taking brass that you buy or pick up and sizing, putting primer, powder, seat, and a bullet. Hand loading is either forming the case out of something else or yeah, that's basically it. Forming the case out of something else, wildcatting. There is no easy way to get that brass. That's the best way I look at it. That's
Okay.
How I
That's definitely one definition. The way I look at it is reloading is doing the very minimum possible to make it a fireable cartridge again. A safe fireable cartridge again. So for pistol, maybe not even cleaning it, just punching out the old primer, punching a new seating a new primer with whatever means necessary, whether that's your progressive press that you're using or a hand priming tool or an on-press priming tool or whatever. But just the basic minimum, throwing powder in it and putting a bullet on it and calling it good. For rifle or shouldered brass, it is trimming, and trimming is also included in that. But reloading doesn't take into account turning necks, primer pocket prep, flash holes, any of the extra steps. Checking your seating depth on your primers, checking your rim thickness on your cases, sorting your bullets by weight, sorting your cases by case capacity, that type of thing.
I think there's a simpler way of putting it. The difference is the level of attention to detail. So reloading,
It works.
you're not trying to eliminate as many variables as possible between each particular bullet casing, right? So
Right.
every piece of ammo in a reloader doesn't have to be as close to homogeneous as possible, right? Where a hand loader wants to eliminate as many of the variables as they can between each one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can be a reloader and still be doing wildcatting, right? It, just because you're wildcatting doesn't mean you're hand loading, right? Yes, you're doing something outside a little bit more advanced than just loading 223 so you can go out and mag dump at the range, right?
Right.
But you're not necessarily trying to eliminate. A hand loader is looking to eliminate the variables in their load. A reloader, or reloading, because some of us do both, right?
Yep.
I reload 9 mil, right? I've shot probably about 10,000 rounds this year, right, of 9 mil ammo. And I'm halfway through the year. I am not hand loading that crap, right?
Mm-mm.
It's just too much effort to become a hand loader. Now, that is not to say you can't hand load 9 mil ammo.
Yep.
Most people think of hand loading as a rifle specific thing, and
No, it's
it
not.
generally most hand loaders are going to be hand loading rifle, right?
Right.
But not always, right? And you know, reloaders are going to be across the gamut, right? So a reloader could be somebody who's you know reloading their um, odd thing, and they're using their old you're using a British 303 to go deer hunting with, and they're reloading it, right?
Right.
Or and sometimes you're reloading because your ammo is not readily commercial available. Sometimes you're reloading because it is actually still cheaper to reload, right?
Mm-hmm.
um Realistically, if I went and bought 50 pieces of 32 Winchester Special Brass and the bullets with it and the powder I needed, right? So I got 50 pieces of brass. I buy 500 bullets for it, and enough powder. Primers come, primers are primers. I don't have to necessarily stack up on it, but I stack up on those, and I hold on those right now. Over the lifetime of that 32 Winchester Special, of me shooting 10 to 15 rounds a year, right? I'm going to save money, right? And I don't
Absolutely.
have to hand load it to where I'm shooting, at 100 yards where I'm shooting, half-inch groups, right?
Yeah, you're just looking for minute a deer.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, honestly, if I'm holding a 3-inch group at 200 yards all day long, I mean
Right.
that gun is going to drop, at 200 yards, because I'm not going
Exactly.
to push that particular cartridge beyond 200 yards. Yes, could it be shot farther? Uh huh. If I'm going past 200 yards, that's the wrong. It really is the wrong op. You're bringing the wrong gun to this particular instance, right?
Right.
So sometimes you're looking to save money, some with reloading. Sometimes, um, listen, I'm not the guy who enjoys reloading. I do it, I get it done. I don't enjoy hand loading. I do it, I get it done. You know, and that I do it for a purpose, right? So the difference really is what your goals are, right? If
Yeah.
your goal is to have a homogeneous, this bullet is the same as this bullet, is the same as this bullet, is the same as this bullet, that's a hand loader.
Yep.
A reloader is somebody that's going to have a purpose, whether that's, they just like the process, right? They like the tinkering, they like the process, they enjoy it,
Like Paul and
or
Justin.
they're me on my Mark 7 going, let's pump out 500, 1,000 rounds so that way I
Yeah.
can get through the next couple matches, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so really that's where I see the difference.
Yeah. RC Socks said something that's pretty good. Reloaders are trying to replicate factory ammo. Handloaders are trying to make the best cartridge for the particular firearm. Uh,
That's not unreasonable.
no, I think that covers it pretty well. If you're looking for a succinct comment for it, so um, Clifford Zach wants to know: are custom loads, bullet, powder charge, primers, seating considered reload? Um,
Depends.
yeah, I mean it depends. So I mean, I guess are you going down the rabbit hole? Shall we say? Now we all know that going down the rabbit hole, there's different levels to the rabbit hole. Or are you just throwing it together? And reloading does include testing. So like a ladder load, doing a ladder load doesn't mean you're not reloading, because you're still looking for a load. Now if you start to get really serious and it's more how much effort you put into it. Now, if you say you've got your minimum and your maximum in your load for your deer gun, and you go out and you take 20 rounds, which covers you basically take your min and your max, you break that up over 20 rounds, you go out to the range, you shoot it, and you find out which ones work the best. Which ones seem to be the closest. And then you go from there and you load up, maybe you go 5 more on that, on those 2 that are close. I still think you're reloading. I don't think you're hand loading.
Well, I mean, you have to do some level. I mean,
You
if
have to do
if
some
you're not
load
doing
test.
some testing,
Right.
you're not going to know what you've got, right? You
Right.
you do have to test to a point, and that makes sense. You know,
Now, if you're doing
it's
like,
again, it comes down to, are you trying to literally, if you're trying to not necessarily find ammo that works better than what the factory offerings you have, right? You're trying to make ammo that is better than any factory offering in your gun, right?
yep,
So here's the thing: if I go out and like I can go and you can buy a $600 to $700 rifle and you can shoot half-minute groups with factory ammo out the box. The problem is you're paying $35 to $40 for a box of factory ammo, and to get that half-minute group out at 100 yards out of that box, you have to buy probably 5 or 6 different brands to find what it is, right?
and there's no
And
guarantee you're
you're
going to
not
find
just
it at the
shooting 3 rounds
35
to confirm it, right? You're shooting that box of ammo to confirm that that gun's going to do what you need to,
level.
right? So the hand loader is looking to beat that's going to beat that 5 boxes of ammo,
Mm-hmm.
right? That I'm going to take that and I'm going to, well, this gun with factory ammo can shoot a minute. This gun with factory ammo can shoot a half minute. So the gun that shoots a half minute, you're looking for a quarter,
Yep.
right? The gun with factory that's shooting a minute, you're looking for half or even better, right? So you're looking
Exactly.
to push that envelope
Yep.
of what that gun is capable of doing with the ammo you're using.
Uh-huh.
That is a hand loader, right? If
Yep.
you're just looking for a certain standard, half minute, you got a gun that's shooting, and you're looking for a certain standard with a gun and you're going to do it, and once you've reached that standard, you don't care anymore, right?
Right.
Minute of deer, half minute, you know, um, you're, you're not, honestly, most guys that even consider themselves hand loaders are really hobbyist hand loaders versus actual hand loaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's like most. I mean, there are the extremes. Justin is a hand loader, right?
Yeah.
100. That's all he does. I mean, he's
Same with
done some
Paul.
reloading, but that's really all he is a hand loader, right? And I'm really more of a reloader who also hand loads,
Yeah.
right? So
I'm more of a reloader.
yeah, and I mean, I would say Nick and his dad are probably more reloaders than hand loaders, but they probably lean. It's one of those. It's 50-50 because a lot of it's they're reloading to be able to shoot the guns they love. They're not necessarily reloading to make the guns they love shoot better, right? And some of that, right? I'm not saying that, but the majority of what they're reloading is for enjoyment shooting, right?
Blasting ammo versus precision ammo.
Yeah, I mean,
As Mooney
yeah, that was the
7528
comment in the
said.
thing. And that doesn't mean that you can't reload precision ammo, right? You don't. I mean, there is precision ammo that can be reloaded, right? Where
Right.
you're not hand loading,
Exactly.
you know.
Now, on
Um,
that point, Ken, I do have some surplus rifles. I start with reloading to make sure the gun functions, of course, and then to get it a good load on paper. But like, there's some rifles like my Swiss K31. They're attack driver rifles, so I'm going to go out and develop like a true hand load for that to get it super accurate.
yeah, but
My
the
my soon to
majority of
be
what you're doing is reloading versus hand loading,
correct,
right?
correct. I'm
So
probably
you're gonna
70-30, I would
Yeah,
say.
right. And me, I'm probably, well, I mean, just because of my volume, I'm probably 90-10, right? And that just has more to do with I don't really have time to do the reloading and then do hand loading. And if I'm going to handle it, I'm not the guy that loves reloading, right? I don't enjoy, I mean, I don't hate it, right? It's not that, oh, this sucks and I don't like doing it. It's just, I don't I don't get particular enjoyment of the process, right?
Mhm.
I don't mind the process. It is what it is. It's fine.
It's a means to
But
an end.
it's means to an end, and I don't mind the work, and it doesn't really bother me too much. But it's one of those things that, you know, if I'm going to go out, I'm doing something for enjoyment. I'm not going to my basement to my reloading bench. Right? There's guys that do that, and you know what? I wish I was one of those guys because I definitely would do a lot more reloading than I do. Um, but so I'm probably 90/10, and that has more to do with I just don't have time to use the application. So for me, I'm only doing either one to be able to pull the trigger, right? That's why I'm doing it. I want to be able to send the round down the range and see the results of what I'm doing, right? I want to be able to, shoot smaller groups or shoot faster or whatever the sport I am competing in, right? Or just time at the range, which is fun, right? I enjoy just going to those, not so much by myself just to blow off ammo, but I like, hey, when I get to go meet up with Mike at the range or Paul, or whoever, that's fun, right? So that is, speaking of Paul, hey Paul. So that's my goal in reloading and hand loading, is to be able to pull the trigger. And there's some people that don't even care about pulling the trigger; they just love the process, and that is, more power to them. So yeah, and that's the thing is, so I just don't get to hand load as much as I would like to,
Right.
because the end means isn't there for me to justify my time hand loading at this time. It will come in time. Got I've got all the components I need to do the hand loading. It's just now I have to find the time to actually go to the range and do the things, spend the time at the range to justify the hand loading.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to break in here and say, I'm an old time hand loader. When we didn't have Mapua brass, Alpha brass, we had Winchester, Remington, you know, but I used to call it junk brass, and
Yeah.
we had to make good brass, you know, handleable brass. So there was a lot of work to it. You had to go through and take, measure how much the case volume had, neck turn them, cut the primer pockets, and by the time you got done with 200 pieces of brass, you had 50. That's what hand loading was at the time.
Well, and I think that, obviously that just goes to shows that the definition and the quality has morphed over time. Because honestly, could you could you have conceived, even in the 90s and early 2000s, right? Right, not too long ago, right? We're not talking, back in even the 80s or the 70s, right? Could conceivably that you could take an off the shelf rifle, like you could go to Cabela's and pick random rifle A, right? And walk over and pick up random ammo for it B, right? Whether, a 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, whatever, whether it be a Ruger, whether it be, a Christian Arms, whatever, right? You pick up
I,
and then go to the range, zero it, and then shoot
example.
half-inch groups.
I have a good example for you. You couldn't, okay? Because I know one of the first varmint rifles that I bought was a Winchester Model 70 and 22 with heavy barrel and the whole 9 yards, 20 power Leopold scope on it, all that kind of stuff. And I went out and bought 5 or 6 different brands of ammunition that I could find, Horn Green, Remington, Winchester, all the different weights that they had, and I could barely get the gun to shoot an inch. I started to hand load, and I say hand load by okay, buying cases, just regular unfired cases, figuring out how much water they held, and then improving them so they matched, and to get a gun that from the factory would shoot, a half-inch screw. So um, there was a lot of trial and error, and stuff that we take for granted nowadays. I can go out and buy an Alpha brass or Peterson brass or Lapua brass. I'm going to get brass that I know that's going to be, the thickness of the case walls are going to be really close to each other. The volume is going to be really close. They're going to be trimmed to the same size. You wouldn't believe what we used to see in factory brass, that you had to trim it before you could even put it in the gun. We've come a long way, yes, tremendous, but also the things that we can do now as a hand loader have risen exponentially. I mean, seating primers to a certain depth, and making sure it happened every time. Couldn't in the 80s. Couldn't do that in the 2000s. You started to, but it was really hard. I was cutting primer pockets back in those days, and learning how to cut primer pockets, and still, the difference in the head thickness of a cartridge between the same manufacturer and the same batch, it's altogether different.
Yep.
So we have scales now that read, if you want to go to, a thousandth of a grain, 2/100ths of a grain is normal. I'm going to call for normal hand loading. We measure now shoulder bump. Shoulder bump in the old days. I mean, if you read a manual and you sit down and sit there and it says the die, screw the die down till it touches the shoulder, lift the arm of the press up, give it a quarter turn, and now you're ready to size your brass. That's still in the manual today, and we sit down and we're measuring, a thousandth, a thousandth and a half, 2,000ths shoulder bump, where you could get, 8, 9, 10,000 shoulder bump. The way they still describe it.
Yeah.
Mandrel dies. Who the hell heard of a mandrel die in the 90s or the 2000s? We started to learn about mandrel dies in 2010, and how it affected neck tension. We played with bushing dies to try to get good neck tension. So there's a lot of stuff that has happened in the past, I'm going to say 20 years, that has made hand loading more expensive, and hand loading easier to
Kind of changed the focus of hand loading, I would say.
That does. There was one thing Mike had mentioned earlier about reloaders not washing brass. There's a lot of hand loaders that don't wash brass. Oddly enough.
So in defending that, it all depends where your brass comes from.
Well, no. So generally the guys that aren't doing it are actually doing it because they don't find that the benefit
Juice
is
isn't
there.
worth the squeeze.
Well, no, it's more of like, so a lot of them actually like dirty necks because it, oddly enough, they say that it helps with neck tension.
Well,
That's
yeah.
dirty necks on the outside, clean necks on the inside. They're always pushing a brush through the neck.
Yeah, but they're not doing a deep clean. They are pushing a brush
No,
through,
yeah, they're
but
pushing a
there's
brush.
still quite a bit of residue left.
Well, you
Yeah.
want a little bit of residue because that helps lubricate the bullet a little bit. A little bit of
Yeah.
carbon in there is helping the bullet a little bit.
So
It keeps the bullet from locking down. I don't know. A lot of F-class shooters will go and have super clean brass, and the day before the match, they sit down with their arbor press and they finish seating their bullet and breaking the seal on their brass. These guys that travel, to England and Australia and all the places for the world shoots and that kind of stuff, their brass has been, ammo's been loaded up, months in advance and sent there by a shipping company, and they sit down and they get their little arbor press out and they're whacking that brass down so that bullet doesn't lock in. We did the same thing with match ammunition when we were shooting leg matches in NRA. You got your 600-yard loads were kind of long. Sit down and seat them a little bit so you break the seal. Lots of stuff. And you're right. We don't, not all of us clean our brass.
Well, I think the biggest change, as much as anything, is availability of information, right? So there were a lot of misconceptions or misunderstood concepts for a long time, and they're still out there, right? But they're less because of the readily available amount of information, right?
Well, the biggest thing that we had as hand loaders to deal with was the Bench Rest Association, so two of them, and learning from them how they loaded. Okay, that's where we learned a lot of the stuff. And you sit down and you look at these guys, and they prep 20 cases for the whole day, and they'll load up 5, go back, reload those 5, and reload 5 more, and they got 15 cases just in case they got a split a neck or something that happens on it. But that's where we learned a lot of the stuff from. Ellie Wilson's been around a long time, making straight line cedar dies.
Mm-hmm.
Ask how many people out there in our viewing audience use a straight line cedar die. I mean, not that many.
Uh-uh.
An arbor press. Who uses an arbor press? Now they got a amp that's got a press that's an arbor press that you sit down, you put the bullet in, and it goes and it measures how much resistance the bullet has when it's seated in the case. And people worry about the spread that they get. Take it. That bullet has got too much, junk or not enough resistance. I'm going to pull that because it's going to be a cider or something else.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what we have now with powder. The choices we have with powder. And people may see that there's not that many, but there are a lot of powder choices that are out there compared to what we used to have.
Yeah. I mean, there used to be like 2 companies.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, if Hodgson keeps going the way they're going, we're going to be back to 2 companies. But
But I mean, we had Alliant, and Alliant was not known for their rifle powders. Okay, really, they weren't. They were known for their pistol powders and stuff, and shotgun powders.
Yep.
We had Hodgson, we had IMR. That was it. Now we got Western, we got Accurate Arms, we got
Shooter's
Vivitori.
World,
Shooter's World,
Vitavori.
Vitavori.
We got all these powder now that are making good powders. And the shooter has a big choice in choosing what he wants to do with it. And then we have the improvements that Hodgson has come out with their.
While we have a lot of choice, it doesn't really matter what you choose. You're gonna get a good powder.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It used to be you were choosing the best powder you could find versus, oh, I'm just choosing a powder but any modern powder right now you can pull off the shelf and use it for the use case it was designed for, and you're probably going to get a good powder. Now, it may work better with a different powder in that particular gun, or one powder may work better for a certain application than others, but you're still not getting a bad powder, right? It's more of are you getting the right powder for the application in your instance?
I look at it like this. In the old days, 223 was loaded with 3031 or 4198. Okay, that's about it. That's all you would shoot. You go 308, you were IMR 4895 or IMR 4064. There was no bargain. Okay, if you loaded a Magnum, you were sitting there with either H or IMR, 4381. If you were a real pro and you could locate some, you found some Norma 202 Magnum out. Okay, that was like, oh my gosh, the holy grail gold when you were loading that stuff. Nowadays, I could close my eyes and take a dart and throw a dart at a list of powders, and I could pick one for anything.
So back to the original premise, which was, what do you need minimum to reload?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I would start with two things: a desire or a need.
Yep.
So you either have to have a desire to reload, or a specific need to reload. That's where you start.
Yep. Absolutely.
But, we sit down and we look at the desire. A lot of people have desire to reload because, one, they can produce enough ammo where they don't have to go to the store every day or once a week ammo to go out there at prices that can be ridiculous. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because you can reuse the brass. You got the tools to do it, and if you go to the minimum of a single stage press, some type of priming system, either on the press or a hand primer, a beam scale, lead dippers, and a set of dies, you're set other than components. And 5 things. That's it. Don't need anything
Well,
more
I
than
mean,
that.
you could argue the lead die set is multiple things, but yeah, because you need a decapping die, you need a sizing die, you need a seating die.
A sizing die. I got a sizing die. This is basics. I got a sizing die that decaps. I'm
Well, that's the thing is like you can have a sizing die that decaps it. It does your neck if you need your neck sizing, but if you're reloading a pistol, pistol obviously you need a decapping / sizing die or both, and you also need a expander die, right? and then you're going to need a seating and a crimp die, right? And a lot of times the seating and crimp die,
Well,
you can
that's
get
the
that at
set of
home,
dice,
right?
though.
But
I mean, we sit down.
it's you need
sit down and
a
work
full
together.
set of dies for your purpose, right? Whether
Right.
there's
That's
extra dies or some of them are combo dies is kind of irrelevant.
right. But that's a set of dies. I go out and I buy the Lee dies, or I buy a set of Hornady dies or RCBS. I'm getting a die that sizes and decaps. I'm getting, if it's pistol, I got an expander die in there. I got a seating die, and if I'm really lucky, I got a crimp die. Okay, so I get away with 4 dies. If I buy a rifle, 99% of the rifle dies I'm going to buy are 2 sets. They got a sizing die and they got a seating die. What more do I need? I'm starting out. I need to produce ammo for whatever, and I'm going to sit down and say, okay, bing, 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 here I go. I pull my book out, which is the one thing I did not mention. I pull a book out. I look up the cartridge I'm going to reload. I go down, I see it. It says, and a lot of times it says, most accurate powder tested. Okay, well, the most accurate powder tested is blah, 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 blah.
So to kind of expand on what you just said there, basically you need the information to reload, right? You're going to find you're going to need you need to know what your general seating depth, your trim depth. If you have to trim, if you're reloading rifle, you're going to need a trimmer.
I mean, I look at Nick's dad, Ray. He sits down. He's got this little plastic Lyman caliper. And he sits down and reloads with it.
Well, that's another thing you need. You need calipers. You need something to measure your bullet. Your
overall length. Yeah. You don't know how many guys sit there reload though, and sit down and run the first one into the gun. Sit down and say, "Whoops, it's a little long." Pull it out and go back again. There you go, Lee's book.
This right here is the bare minimum. Right here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's why Mike wanted the podcast. He wanted to show off his little box.
No, I had to go to the bathroom. Water pills suck.
I'm giving you crap, Mike.
Oh, I have like 10 of those. So, literally, you want a bare minimum. This is it. This has everything you need tool-wise to reload a case. All you need besides this is a hammer, preferably a dead blow, a piece of brass, a primer, powder, and a bullet. So what this
buy
does...
those new now, Mike?
What's that?
Are they still available new?
I don't know. I'd have to look. Hey, Nick.
Yeah, you can still buy the
reload all.
Yeah.
Reload all. Yeah.
They're still available. Certain ones are cheaper than others. Like a 12 gauge is like, they don't make that 12 gauge anymore. That's like expensive if you find one.
I have one.
You know, I sat down and the guy that was selling me my first reloading kit said, forget the reload all, forget all that. Here's an RCBS rock chucker. It's going to last you forever. If you don't like it, I'll buy it back from you.
Yep.
Did you try selling it back to him after you wore it out?
No, I didn't. He was out of business by then.
I thought about picking one of the lead loaders up for like 223, just like to throw in a backpack for a shit hits the fan situation. So a lot of times on a shit hits fan, that's all you're really going to have.
Well,
and you can find it pretty cheap.
You know, I think about the same thing, and Huntington Reloading and now Lee make presses where you can screw a die in and
the true hand press. Yeah, but those get pretty heavy, and so
they're a lot lighter than anything else, and they're aluminum. There's nothing to them.
That's true.
Huntington, a a really, really nice one for a long time. It had two handles that came down like this, and it was
They're
really nice.
$34.50 a piece for the lead loaders.
And the other thing is that how many remember the Lyman nutcrackers? The little hand ones that you had a special die for. You squeezed it. It popped the primer out.
I have the newer version of that, the Lyman hand press. Yeah, the 310 is the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Actually, I think I have one of those somewhere. So, but supposedly they still sell them. Let's go to their website and find out. But, space you can work around there, Clifford.
That's the thing. I had a lot of people, like when I would try to get people into reloading, it's like, oh, I don't have the space. Really, all you need is a corner of a room, maybe a 4-foot table, sturdy table. That's all you need.
Kitchen table.
Yeah, that's even, yeah, kitchen table.
2x10.
Yeah.
Clamp. No.
Pickup bed, or a pickup tailgate.
Yeah.
Take a 2x12, you screw your press to the 2x12, you take 2 C clamps and you clamp it down to something.
Yep.
There you go.
Everybody starts
somewhere. KT 1000 now becomes a KT 1001.
So
space is not so much of a problem.
Nope.
You need 3 feet. I mean, you can do it in 3 feet. 2 foot if you really wanted to.
Well, if you buy one of the where do I want to go?
The loading stands, and Frankfurt Arsenal has stands too. You can fold it up and put it away and bring it out when you need it. Go to Home Depot and buy a Black & Decker workmate.
Yeah, workmate. But you don't even need that. Get the Lee breech lock, the Lee breech lock hand press. You can sit on your couch and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, room isn't
Okay.
a matter.
I gotta say, with Justin not being here, I gotta speak up. Take a little bit more effort. Do just a little bit more than the bare minimum.
We're covering the bare minimum, though.
Yeah, but just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
But here's the point: this is the point of this is the bare minimum you need to get into reloading. That's the point of the
I'm going to go with Paul's original statement. Something to deal with the powder. Dies, a press, something to deprime, something to prime, or something to prime. Those are kind of what you need, and then obviously a measuring tool.
So,
if you're really going less than that, you're just asking for headache.
Not necessarily.
I agree with that. I agree with that, Ken, because it is a pain in the ass to use a Lee load all. Where you're sitting there banging the brass down to size it down so it'll fit in the chamber, knocking the primer out, banging it to put another primer in. Taking a scoop, measuring the scoop, no scale, pour it into the case, from the list of powders they give you, and then seat the bullet.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, and save
That's
yourself the
a
heartache.
lot of work, right?
Yes, you can
Where
do it with less than what I said, but it's not worth it.
If that's your only option, then yes, it is.
Go buy a factory ammo.
Well, your time is worth some money. Okay, that's part of it. Um, that's why I started out with a press because my time was worth some money.
Yeah.
I could sit down and size. On an evening, I could sit down and size a whole bunch of cases and put them off to the side to be primed and loaded and everything else afterwards.
Alaska Russ is right. You can basically go and buy an RCBS or a Lee or a
Well, that's what I
Hornady
was just going
basic
to go to.
kit.
That's what I was just going to. Is a Lee Anniversary Breech Lock Challenger 3 kit is $159.99, and as long as you want to take the effort to learn their scale, which once you learn how to use it, it's actually pretty good, but it takes some learning. It takes some learning to get used to.
That is the only downside to that kit is
Yeah.
the scale. If you want to spend $100 more, you can buy a Lyman or a RCBS.
You don't
Or,
even have to
You're,
do. You don't even have to go that far. You can buy a scale as long as the scale is able to measure in the units that your loading manual gives you. In the U.S., we use grains,
yep,
right? That's what we use. I think Europe uses grams. Is that correct generally?
yep, that's
Yeah.
correct.
yep,
So as long as you've got one that is reasonably accurate to what you need to. So in grains, if you're within a tenth of a grain one way or the other, it's reasonably we're talking reloading. That is more than reasonably accurate.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to have a powder throw, right? You can do it manually by hand by using like the little Lee scoops or even a teaspoon and going, going to be a pain in the ass to do it that way. I mean, you could do that, right? Where, listen, if you're within a tenth of a grain, like, so if your goal is, say, 40 grains or 41 grains of whatever powder it is, and you're 41.2, right? Like, if you're going for 41, you're 41.2. If you're reloading, that's good enough,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm going to tell you, when I first started reloading, Lee had their kit out there, but the guy that taught me says get a paper, a big heavy duty one, cut the case off, and then file it a little at a time till you get the amount of powder that fits in the case, a fired case, solder on a piece of that paper clip on there. You just
mm-hmm.
go like this and just go boom, and that's it. And you can customize that by taking a little file and just filing
Well,
it
there you
down.
go. You're measuring by volume and not by weight.
That's right.
And that's for reloading, volume is probably good enough, right? you
Yeah,
know
That's why
so
the
yeah,
powder
that makes
difference are
sense.
so
Is if you've
popular.
got something that gives you what you need consistently within with a reasonable margin of error, you know all day long.
I know guys that use black powder that sit down and they reload black powder and they don't have a powder drop or anything else. They got a cut case. They dip it into the black powder, pour it into the case, seat the bullet. They're done. It's
Yep,
I
great.
mean, the only thing is you do need that initial, you need something to measure whatever you're measuring initially, right?
Right.
To make
Yeah.
sure that you're not overdoing it, right? Because honestly, I mean, I might be able to eye the difference depending on what the container it's in between 40 and 50 grains, but the difference between 40 and 50 grains in something is, depending on what you're doing, could be a lot, right?
Yeah.
And some things it's not so much, but
I mean, look at
yeah,
look at how many muzzle loaders are out there that They sit down and they have a powder flask, and it's got a graduation bar on it. They set how many grains they want on the black powder. They sit down and hold their finger on it, measure out how much they want, come over there, hold it up, dump it down the board. I mean, it's
Well, I mean, you could always just take that initial throw, right? You could always take and say, okay, because the manufacturer will tell you how many flakes or pieces of powder is in a grain, right? You can find that information. So you could literally sit there with a pair of tweezers and go 1, 2, 3, and count out enough to get there for your initial load. I mean, and once you've got your initial load, now you can turn around and you can cut and use your custom measure device, right? Um,
right. Yeah,
so you could do that, and then you're all right. But I would recommend that
you
the
start with a scale, so
more
you
arduous tasks should be done. You should take the steps, bare minimum, just for your own sanity, so that way you don't get done loading 10 rounds and want to use one of them on yourself, because it is such an arduous task to do. You know, invest in a
well,
press. It doesn't have to be an expensive press. It doesn't
no,
have to be anything super fancy. It just needs to be able to give you the mechanical force you need to size the die and seat the die. Deep
see, yeah, see, size the
Yeah.
case.
So the where you need mechanical force, right? And there's hand decappers. I know that they're out there. Stuff like
Oh
that. So I
yeah,
mean,
Frankfurt Arsenal makes one. You can sit down and you sit watch a movie in decap cases if you want to do
yep.
that.
Now
But that's
make
all.
sure you're doing it
All I
over something because it will ruin your carpet. I have friends that know from experience.
mm,
So I'm on Midway right now. The anniversary kit is 167. The next cheapest kit is the RCBS Partner, which is 326. And then you've got the Lyman Brassmith for 368 and the Frankfurt for 481. And the Reading Boss for 462. So what I would recommend is if you're trying to get into it cheap, get the lead kit and then get the Frankfurt Arsenal electric scale. It's been tested by quite a few people and have had very good luck with it.
the teledropper. Yeah.
No,
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 he
no,
said
no,
just
not
a
the
scale.
teledropper.
Oh,
You've got a little
just
digital scale.
Okay.
So, I'm
Yeah, that would be good. I would recommend. Obviously, if you're trying to get in cheap, the least fine, right? I would recommend going up to the RCBS if you can do it, right? But it's not a must have.
there's a lot of videos out there on the lead to teach you how to use it properly. So,
Yeah.
but I'm on here. So the Lyman Pocket Touch 1500 powder scale is $25 right now. I don't know how good it is or bad it is. I know the Frankfurt Arsenal DS 750 is right around 45. That's good. The RCBS Pocket Digital Powder Scale is about $40. That's usable too. So those
And
are the only
and the,
two I
the
would really
$25
recommend.
one's probably for reloading is probably accurate enough to be used because is it perfect? No, but you don't need perfect. As long
No,
as you're not getting a huge swing where you're talking, 0.5 of a grain, right? Because
yeah,
if you're reloading, you know, pistol ammo, 0.5 of a grain is a large jump,
right,
right? So as long as you're not getting, but if you're getting 1 or 2 tenths, it's not that big of a deal. And even with a pistol, generally 0.5 of a grain is still within the margin of error unless you're loading really on the upper end or lower end where you're getting, where you're 5/10, like you're low. If you're in the middle of what the book margin is, what the book load is, you're probably fine with even
Right.
5/10 swing. And I'd be willing to bet that even that $25 one is probably way more accurate than 5/10.
Yeah. The other option is the Lee powder dippers. They're $13.29 on Midway. Here is the tip for Lee powder dippers. Put your powder in some sort of container. You take the dipper, you push it down into the powder, let the powder flow into it, and then you take like a business card or something and scrape the top.
So you dip versus scoop.
Right. That is the key. And I have a load, a 308 load that I made using Lee powder dippers out of my Tika T3 that I had, that a 5-shot group was 0.38 inches. The bullet is 0.30. So I had 5 shots at 100 yards, 0.38 inches, and I use Lee powder dippers to get it. So, but most of your scales out there nowadays are pretty decent, either electronic scales. Get a beam scale if you can. They're a little better. They're less affected by interference from various things, where your cheaper digital scales are. So, but but like I said, Lee, the reason Lee is still in business is because Lee is the entry level to reloading. And some people never progress past it. Some people buy it and that's all they ever use. And they've been using it for 20, 30, 40 years. And that's because they're reloading. They're not hand loading. They don't need anything fancy. So, but
we'll say that while Lee's reputation for being cheap is well earned, and they are definitely low end, right now for automated presses, right? So the Mark 7, even the Dillons and stuff like that, their crimp die is considered the best on the market by many, many people.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's a crimp die, so why is it so much? I have a Lyman crimp die that has like the digital or the 10th or 100th scale adjustment. Yeah. I could not get that thing to work well. And finally, I reached out on the Mark 7 group and said, hey, listen, I've been having problems with this. Anybody have any examples? Is this likely just I've got a bad die or something? Like, no, that die sucks. And literally 10 people buy the Lee crimp die, buy the Lee crimp die, buy the Lee crimp die, right? And so I bought the Lee crimp die and it works. I mean, it's a crimp die. I don't really need anything super special. I just need it to crimp the damn bullet. So
right. So, yep. But I mean, that's the thing is we're talking about the bare necessities. So, I mean, realistically, you can buy a Lee loader and a dead blow hammer and away you go. Is it practical? No. Buying the hand press, you can buy that too. Is it practical? No. Get a press you can mount on something. Like I said, you take it, you screw it to 2x12, and you can clamp it to your kitchen table or an end table or whatever.
Was it Johnny's reloading bench had all the videos on YouTube, and you're watching his whole bench go flexing? Like,
I think so.
Yeah, man, it drove me nuts watching his videos. He had a lot of good information, but I could not watch that part of the videos because it's just like, oh my god, he's about to just drive me nuts. But so, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to be this, super overly expensive setup. Is it worth spending the extra money a lot of times? Yes. Is it necessary? No.
Yeah. Behind me, I have the Frankfurt Arsenal X10 on their Frankfurt Arsenal loading table. That's another option. But frankly, if it's a case of you need somewhere that you can put it back in a closet when you're done, Black & Decker Workmate.
Yeah.
It's solid enough you can screw the press to it. But I would still, honestly, screw your press to a 2x12 or whatever and clamp it down. So
You just need enough room for the travel of the handle and the operation of the press.
yeah. So
and it doesn't have to be, the greatest.
It's only
thing
20
in the
inches
world.
wide. It's only 20 inches wide, 22 inches deep.
Yeah.
And you can sit down with a chair on it, and you can do whatever you want. And you put if you want,
you could do it on you could screw it in, put it on to clamp it to a sawhorse.
Yep.
I mean, it's most of us have a sawhorse sitting around somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you live in an apartment and space is at a premium, that Black & Decker Workmate's perfect because you can just fold it up and put it in the closet.
Yeah.
So.
And hey, if you don't have one of those already in on hand and you want to save a little bit of money for buying that one, go buy a foldable sawhorse.
Yeah.
Some of the sawhorses right now, fold up, fit it. I mean, the only problem is they're 4 foot long, so they're a little bit long. But by the time you fold them up, they're 4 foot long, but they're only 3-4 inches wide and 3-4 inches, or like 2 or 3 inches. Real simple, easy to use, and you've got you can clamp it right there. You don't have to permanently attach it to the sawhorse. You can clamp it down like Mike said, and then you fold it up. You put the press in a closet when you're not using it.
You get a
$25 for a Bauer 29-inch steel folding sawhorse at Harbor Freight.
Yep.
You get yourself a big ammo crate, which is about 18, 20 inches tall, 20 inches wide, square. It'll hold all your press, all your tools, everything else. You can put it in that, take it.
$5 tub, right? Yeah. Storage tub, right?
Storage.
Doesn't even have to be an ammo crate. Could just be like the black with the yellow lid. You can buy them at any hardware store, any convenience store out there. You might be, you probably could find something at $5 Below to put it in, right?
Yeah, and the nice thing about it is that if you got a top on it, you can put your components and other stuff on there, so you can reach for it while you're using it on this little table.
But that's what I'm saying. You can find a simple box that has a top on it. You're going to pay, if you're paying more than $10 for it, you're probably overthinking what you're buying.
That's
because if you put ammo crate on the side of it or advertise it as an ammo crate, they're going to charge you $20 minimum.
I like the ammo crate because of the handles, the locks on it, and
don't get me wrong. I agree with you. They're great. The problem is they automatically mark it up.
Oh,
right.
Everything that gets, anything that says reloading, hand loading, shooting gets marked up. We all know that. Yeah. We all know that. I mean, if I look at it, I go to buy an arbor press from whoever, $200. They are $165 for an arbor press. I go to the Temu or whatever.
Hey, K&M arbor press is $67 on Midway.
There you go.
They actually have it in stock.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there you go. Okay, you're sitting there. You can seat bullets, do whatever you want. But anytime it says reloading, it adds money.
Yeah.
But yeah, think outside the box a little bit, and you guys will, save money and you get started.
Eric Gale, 1911, perfect suggestion. Hit the Habitat Restore. You'll find something there. right?
Or garage sales.
Or garage sales. There's all kinds of, and I'd rather have you save money on the bench and the storage solutions and put that extra money into maybe a little bit better dies or a little bit better of a press or scales or whatever, right? Um, you know, hey, listen,
Amazon.
Yeah,
if
you
you've
say
got a cat, right, and you've got a litter pan and you've got those yellow tubs that litter comes in, those things make phenomenal buckets for storing shit in.
Yep. Coffee cans. So Amazon has quite a few different folding workbenches for like $35. Otherwise, if you want the actual Black and Decker, they're $40, $41 at Home Depot. So,
and
And a lot of people that are doing this stuff, getting into it, probably already have some of this stuff available.
right.
and don't forget to hit the estate sales.
Yep.
If
Shoot.
if you want reloading equipment, you can be pretty good at some of the estate sales.
Yeah.
Listen, check your local obituaries. If you see an obituary where somebody's talking about the guy was an avid hunter or avid shooter, and keep an eye out on that location. Maybe there might be a yard sale or an estate sale there, and you might be able to pick up some stuff.
It's just little hints that go a long way.
Oh, sorry. The Arbor Press was $162.40,
Yeah.
but it is in stock. It's
Still,
at,
I mean, it's well. The
it's
problem
a-
with also with the Arbor Press is now you need an Arbor die to go with it.
Yep.
You're not using a standard seating die.
Right. I go to Lee and I take Lee's load all. Arbor Press works fine with a load all.
Oh, there you go.
It's just
Well, and that's a way of making the lead load all work a little bit better. Is
right.
if you can use it with an Arbor Press to do the work, the manual labor, that it makes it much more practical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it still a good way to go? Probably not. I would still go ahead and at least buy their minimal kit type thing versus the load all. But
$162. That's what you said, Mike?
Yeah.
For the Lee.
Yep.
Come on, guys. That's what going out to a ball game.
Yeah.
Nowadays, right?
Yep. $160 at Titan Reloading in stock for the 50th anniversary Breechlock Challenger 3 kit.
And it's like going to a ball game. I mean, come on. You guys probably spend more money on pay per view shit. HBO and all that kind of crap.
Yep.
hell, that's almost or it's only a little bit more than one gun to shoot at World Speed Shoot.
Yeah. So, and that comes with, just to let everybody know what it comes with. It comes with the Challenger 3 press and the Smart Lock quick change bushing, complete powder handling system with the perfect powder measure, the Lee safety scale, powder funnel, case prep tools it comes with the Lee value trim case trimmer, and a cutter and lock stud for trimming by hand. It also comes with a chamfer tool, side lube, which is garbage, and a small and large pocket priming tool, cleaning tool. Also comes with a large and small safety prime.
It's got all
the press
to reload. It got all the stuff you need to reload. The only thing you're missing are the dies. Okay.
Yep. Dies and the length for the cutting.
Yeah.
The case length gauge, which is like $8, $10.
So you're looking at what, $30 for a set of dies, another $8. You got $38 in stuff. So you're at $200.
$200 for equipment. and you're good to go.
The only other thing you'll need is powder, primers, brass, and bullets.
Yep.
And depending on what you're reloading, brass can be free.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're just getting into it, go get range brass.
Right. You're reloading. You're not hand loading. You're reloading. So range brass works.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that Tim Mooney 7528. So, hey, John Levelette 6035. So, what type of presses? I'm just curious. Are they all brass? Are they shot shell or what? So, just curious. But yeah,
I only have 4 presses.
I don't know how many I have. I lost count.
So, and one I only use for priming.
Oh, let me go check that out.
You know,
one of the secret spots to go for reloading is Natchez shooting supplies. I forget to mention it sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. But they, for some reason, always have some frickin' get on their email list because they have some amazing deals. Aha! So he's like me, has a bunch of shot shell presses. Yes, I'm 18. I want to find out who came up with that launch. Kick him in the nuts.
you know,
Okay, so
I've
it's
got like a $50 RCBS press that I use just for basically priming. And then I've got my Mark 7. I've got the X10. And I'm going to use that for brass prep for rifle, sizing, stuff like that. Uh, I just had too much issue using trying to prime 9 mil brass. It just was way too many problems. That was just causing hang up. And then I've got my
coax.
coax. Yep, I have my coax, and that one I use for like I even load 9 mil on that from time to time, just when I'm doing like load development, because it's just easier to go ahead and throw a charge on my digital powder throw. Just throw it there and do it, just because I'm only doing like 20 rounds, 30 rounds at most at any one time, and then I'm running to the range, setting up the chronograph, checking functionality, making, seeing what speeds I'm getting. Is it going to be fast enough for what I need? Is it still functioning? Now, I'm doing what a lot of people aren't doing when I'm doing that testing is I, I don't really care what the speed is as much as function. Because I also like I'm trying to take a 9 mil and make it run as kind of like you couldn't. I've got a 9 mil and a 22. The two guns are very very close in setup. The 22 is only slightly lighter, but it's got the same handguard. It's got the same buttstock, same grip. It's actually
It's
full
a
on
Colt.
AR-15 upper and lower. The difference is the lower's got a last round bolt hold open that's designed for the 22 mags, so it wouldn't work with a. I think I can run a regular AR mag in it just fine. I just have never tried. Just the last round bolt hope you're not going to be able to lock the bolt back with the way it's set up. I think it's the difference. And of course there's no buffer there's no buffer in the buffer tube, right? So I mean it's a little bit lighter, but the guns are looking at them. You can't tell the difference unless you're like looking at the bolt itself, or the magwell for the PCC because it's a smaller magwell. And the goal is to get the 9 mil to shoot as close to the 22 as possible as far as felt recoil and all that. And even then, it's doesn't have to be perfect because at some point you can't tell the difference. So –
All right, guys, I'm getting out.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap her up here. So
So you guys take care.
Raggle Fraggle's on now, so we should go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you're gonna just dive in and you're looking at getting something, get one of the kits. It's better off that way. I wouldn't go with the Natchez deal because it's $85 for the press and the dies, and then you have to buy everything else. Whereas the entire kit is 156, and then you just need dies. So
Unless the kit and the dies, or the press and the dies are phenomenal. But for $85, I'm assuming
Yeah.
they're not going to be any better than the Lee.
Fraggle,
So-
Fraggle, what's your questions? So, Hornady One Shot is a wet lube that you need to let dry. If you do not let it dry, it will stick. So,
Or more specifically, it can cause pressure issues and can ruin your necks. But it depends. So for rifle, use a dry lube. For like pistol, like if you're especially if you're using an automated press, One Shot works great. For dump your brass in the feeder, hit it real quick with One Shot just to make sure everything goes smoothly.
if you don't let One Shot dry, when it's still wet, it's tacky and it becomes real sticky.
But you can also create pressure issues while you're sizing. You can actually get a hydraulic pressure buildup.
But you can do that with any lube.
Well, you're probably not going to do it with like a grease, but
Yeah, you will. Right, Nick?
Yep. Where's my case? I don't know where it is. Must be down the bench.
So, but
and you only really just need enough lube to keep it from sticking.
On the other hand, I feel like Mikey can't get a case stuck.
I've tried. I even tried Hornady One Shot when it was wet and still didn't stick it. So, the only lube that I don't like and I will not recommend is the Lee lube. So, but yeah, you definitely get hydraulic dents if you have too much lube on it. So,
and you can always make your own lube.
There's a good sign of hydraulic dents.
Yep.
That's nothing compared to some of the cases I have downstairs.
So, yeah, lanolin and isopropyl alcohol. So, it's your Dillon case lube. So, there is I want to say Redding makes a dry lube.
So there's graphite.
Yep.
Where you essentially take it's a little container of beads, right? You dump a little bit of graphite in it. You just dump it. I don't like it personally. I don't like the texture. It kind of bugs me. So
the only case I have some and I use it. The only stuff I use it on is if I buy when I buy the blank fire, the wooden bullet 6.5 speed stuff, and I'm pulling the bullets. I resize the necks on those, and that's the only time I use it.
Yeah.
I know Chaff, my Reiki vet, made a video years ago doing that, and that's what he did. And I kind of talked to him about it, and yeah, he's like, "Yeah, that's really the best thing he's gotten." I'm like, okay, perfect, no problem. And yeah, it does wonders for that stuff, especially when you're paying like 15 cents for prime brass.
Yeah. So, yeah, Raggle Fraggle said would dry lube work? Yeah, I mean, people use graphite. Like Ken says, you can get graphite powder and you can use airsoft BBs and do that. Otherwise, you can buy the fancy kits and stuff too. So,
my best thing is that Dillon spray lube.
Yeah, the lanolin and
Yeah,
and
same thing.
alcohol.
Yeah,
So,
same thing.
yep. Tim Mooney 7528 said, Nick, that dent looks scary.
Oh, that ain't nothing. I'll have some cases next week. They're down at the
Yeah,
bench.
he's got some good ones.
Yeah, I'll have them for next week.
Yeah,
I just didn't want. I didn't want to go to the basement this week because the air conditioner's been running a lot this week. So
yeah, well, it's a little warm down there. So, at any rate, keep in mind goals is coming up. I'm going to be there. Nick's going to be there.
I'm hoping to be there. I need to still register. I haven't even registered yet.
Well, you better register now.
Work's been busy.
Register. Just register, and if you can't go, then you can't go. But you're better off registering and getting than trying to register last minute, and you can't. So, tell your dad the same thing. Sharonda was talking about going, but I think her life's upside down right now, so probably not. I might bring my motorcycle. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Depends on the weather. So, we'll see. But anyway, I found a coast to coast 20 gauge at Bass Pro when I stopped in the other day to pick up my new chairs. Basically, it's a Mossberg 500. So, but
I haven't been in Cabela's or Bass Pro in 6 months.
Well, that's the first time I'd been in a while. So
no, not that long. Maybe like 3 months.
But I can't say that because I go in and make payments on my card, so then I can pay bills. Because I have a silver card with $1,000 limit. To get a silver card for Cabela's Bass Pro, you have to spend $10,000 a year. So my cell phone bill and other bills go on there. So I just go in and I make a payment.
There you
go. Pay the bill, make a payment, pay the bill, make a payment, pay the bill, and rack up points.
There you go.
I
don't get in much. It's just their guns have gotten the used guns are just all over the board on what they want to charge. And
they're not very consistent. So
I just don't even mess.
This was only $120. So
that's hard. That's hard to beat. But like some of the stuff I look at, it's expensive.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they had a couple of ridiculously overpriced things in there. So,
and I'm on hold on most things right now because we got a show coming up at the end of July where I might be spending some money.
Well, there you go.
So our big Missouri Valley show here as always.
Yeah. Speaking of spending money, if you want to get cool patches like this every month, go to firearmsradio.net/category/podcast/reloading-2 and then click on support the show. It is the red button, reddish orange. And you can join the Patriot Patch Company Patch of the Month and get that and help the show at the same time. Or if you want to get some cool like the Reloading Podcast shirts and hoodies and tumblers and can koozies, you can go to the same spot, firearmsradio.net/categories/podcast/reloading-2 and click on merch. It's a black button. And it'll take you over to Southern Gals Crafts where you can see all of our cool merch. And they also have cool merch for Rabbit Hole Precision. And does she have your stuff up, Ken?
I don't know if she's got it listed, but if you reach out to her and ask for her, she can get you shirts.
You can get Retmark Firearms. And you can get
Reloading Podcast and
trying to remember Phil.
What's that?
Matter of Facts podcast, Phil's stuff. So she's got a bunch of stuff on there, and she also makes a whole bunch of other stuff. So check it out. So, Bass Pro is literally 1,000 yards from my house. So, Dunham's the closest one I think is Janesville now because Beaver Dam's gone, and Academy we don't have any. So. I'd like to have an academy. So, supposedly they're building a Shields on this side of Milwaukee.
That is true.
Hey, Ken, did you hear we're getting an IKEA in Madison?
Ooh, yes. I don't care.
I just want to go for the meatballs. That's all I want to go for. But yeah, they're putting it over on the west side by Target. Over there.
Yeah, I don't go over the west side much.
I don't either. The west side's pretty horrible. So.
Well, I don't have a problem with the west side. It's just it's on the west side, so I gotta go the way across town.
That's way over there. So, Misanthropic American, thank you for joining us. And thank you for the compliment. So, if you're looking for camouflage, this is the original pattern. But you can head over to camerado.com. And swing over there and check out all their cool camouflage patterns. Sean from We Like Shooting created the pattern, and then he's imported it into a bunch of other colors and patterns and stuff. So he's got all sorts of cool stuff over there. Swing over there and check it out. So, all right, gang. Any shout out to Paul for joining us. Shout out to Ken and Nick for all your contributions and everything. Thank you both. Shout out to all the crowd that joined us live, which we record live every Tuesday night. We're on Discord or Rumble, I should say. Lake Michigan gang. All right. So,
As long as we're not including anybody that's in Chicago as part of that game.
That could be a benefit or a detriment.
Odds are it's going to be a detriment. And to the few of you who wouldn't be, I'm sorry, get over it.
I don't know. It depends if they let us shoot their guns. With their ammo. That's the key. We don't have to pay for ammo. Anyway. Yep. We can tell it's getting to the end of the show. The comments section's just gone to heck in a handbasket, and I love it. So, seriously, enjoy everybody that joins us every week. Enjoy all the people that download and listen to it as an audio podcast. You can find us on Rumble and YouTube as long as YouTube doesn't take it down. But, yeah, so thanks everybody that continues to tune in. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Mill Serp short bus.
Take somebody to the range with you.
Support Second Amendment and support organizations that are supporting the Second Amendment. Make sure you're paying attention where your dollars are going. Make sure also you're paying attention to what your Congress critters are doing, and your local and state reps are doing. So, I am not swimming in Lake Michigan for 60 miles. No way. Especially starting out of Chicago. I don't know what I'd run into. But anyway. Lake Ontario, sweet. In that case, go Red Wings. Oh, hey, Ken, guess what I got?
Something Red Wings related?
Red Wings whiskey.
Okay.
It's a 100th or a centennial celebration whiskey. It's actually pretty good. So.
Okay, is that Red Wings Shoes as the company, or actually the Detroit Red Wings as a hockey team?
Detroit Red Wings hockey.
Okay.
So.
The two are
Kid
not
got a 3
affiliated, but
for
they have the
Father's
same
Day.
name. The two are not affiliated, but they have the same name.
Yep. Red Wing Boots is actually out of Red Wing, Minnesota. So, anyway. Most importantly, if you're struggling, 988 or 1-800-273-8255 from a landline. Reach out, get some help. Mental health is important. It is Mental Health Awareness Month and Men's Health Awareness Month. So, men, go get your colons and your prostates checked. Make sure you do it by a licensed professional and not just Jimmy in the alley, though. That doesn't count that way.
Mike will do it. Mike will do it and pay you $5 for the experience.
I am not paying anybody to give him a proctology exam. So.
It's not what the website says, Mike.
Anyway, since we're talking about mental health, and now we've just yeah. Reloading Podcast is not responsible for any mental health damage incurred by watching or listening to the show or shows. Please listen at your own
Risk.
Yeah. So, on that note, everybody have a good night.